Good evening, Little Masters, and welcome to the 7th episode of the Rings of Power Wrap-Up, where, thankfully, we aren't likely to try to read any Elvish tonight.
And for good reason. Folks, go ahead and pull up a bench in the common room. I'm Shawn Marchese, the Lord of the Mark, and I'm here with the Man of the West, Alan Sisto, and a very special guest.
Indeed we are. That is absolutely right, Shawn. And we are looking forward to talking about Tolkien's invented languages and how we'll be experiencing them on screen in The Rings of Power.
Now, for those of you joining us for the first time, welcome. Here at the Rings of Power Wrap-Up, we discuss, analyze, dissect, and speculate all about Amazon Prime Video's television adaptation of J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth.
We take deep dives into the lore behind the show, or the lore that should be behind the show. We talk about our favorite themes and characters, and much more, all based on our many years as Tolkien fans and podcasters.
But we also make sure we have a lot of fun along the way, so we are glad you've joined us.
And we know you'll be glad you joined as well. But before we get into this episode, we want to remind you that if you'd like some company as you read any of Tolkien's works, you should listen to our original show, The Prancing Pony Podcast.
That's right. For more than 6 years and nearly 260 episodes, Alan and I have been walking our way through Tolkien's legendarium, from the Silmarillion to the Hobbit, and we're now nearly finished with the Two Towers.
That's right. Some say we're the finest Tolkien podcast this side of Brie. We've been invited to speak at Tolkien conferences around the world, and we've been honored with the Tolkien Society Award for Best Online Content twice. Now, we'd like to think there's no better companion for your extended trip through Middle-earth.
We would like to think so. But folks, this show is all about the Amazon adaptation. And this episode is all about our special guest tonight, Leith McPherson, an incredibly talented voice, dialect, and acting coach who we had the privilege of meeting in London not long ago.
Now, she's been working in theater, film, and TV for 25 years. She's taught in Australia, the US, and the UK. Now, you've probably seen her work before as she was the dialect coach for Peter Jackson's Hobbit films. And for you fellow word nerds, she endeared herself to us when she proudly announced her appreciation, nay, her love for Appendix E. We had a great chat with her in London, and we are thrilled to introduce you to her today. Leith, welcome to the Rings of Power Wrap-Up.
It is the greatest of thrills to be here. It's an absolute delight. We were chatting before we started recording, audience, so we are already in the flow of this and can't wait to chat with you as well. This is so great.
Excellent.
We are so excited to have you.
We really are. Now, folks, this is our first interview ever on our new show, The Rings of Power Wrap-Up. But on our other show, The Prancing Pony Podcast, we've done more interviews than we can count. And there's a question that we ask everyone who's ever been on the show. So, Leith, we're going to ask you this one as well. When and how did you first discover Tolkien's work? What was it like for you? And what kept you coming back? I believe, and this will kind of get you started, you told us in London that you read the books in a rather unusual order.
Yeah.
Don't say that with shame in your voice. That's great.
Oh, well, it was a little stop-start. I came to the books as a teenager, probably later than a lot of your listeners, I think, because I should have started earlier than I did. I was always a very acoustically focused person, so I was always interested in sound, always interested in voices, always interested in accents and dialects and how people express themselves through language. And so I was talking about this with a friend of mine. I guess I was sort of in my mid-teens. And they said, oh, well, if you like all of that stuff, just kind of lumping that all together, then you'll love this guy Tolkien. You'll just love it. He's your guy. He's the guy for you. So I thought, okay, all right, random reference. Don't know much about this. I will find out. And the place that I chose to begin was the Silmarillion.
Oh my.
We hear that sometimes.
Talk about diving into the deep end. Yeah.
Yeah, that was all the way down. And it was a pretty intense way to start. But I thought, well, I'll start at the beginning. And my understanding is that the Silmarillion is the beginning. So let's work chronologically through this world. I'm somebody who absolutely hates spoilers. So I didn't want to read ahead. I didn't want to I didn't want to know what happened later on. I wanted to just work it through in real time-ish.
Right.
And so I started with the Silmarillion, and I have a real impediment when it comes to Tolkien's work because I find it very difficult to remember names.
Oh, boy. And you started with the Silmarillion.
Where all the names kind of look the same.
Oh.
All right.
Oh, for Feanor's sake.
Well, as we all know, that people have not just one name, there are several. And so
Right.
I was trying to, it's such a deep dive so quickly with the Silmarillion that it's like the whole map. It's like the scroll not only just hits the table, but hits the table and starts to unravel and then goes out the hall and down the stairs. And, it's just how many people are in this thing? And trying to keep that in my head was incredibly challenging. And also because I don't have this is why I work in the area I do on set, I don't have a great visual imagination. So for example, in The Hobbit, when I got to the Hobbit next, I was like, okay, Silmarillion, thank you for coming. Maybe I can come back to you a little later when I have a little more context for all of this. So I went to The Hobbit, which was the right thing to do. Because as those journeys start to unravel and start to extend out into the landscape, right? You follow the characters out into the landscape. I could follow as well. So that was helpful. But even that whole bit about, this dwarf had a blue, like a blue belt and a gold this. And I was like, oh, too many. Tolkien, it's too many. Professor, please help me. Too many. But so that was
can't keep them all straight.
That was kind of that I should have started at The Hobbit, but I learned my lesson.
Yeah.
But the thing that I got that I picked up straight away in the Silmarillion, and I thought, well, I'm in to go back to what you were asking before, Alan. Yeah. How did I relate to all of that? How did my relationship develop? He had me from the get-go. He had me from the moment that he said that this was the world that was created with song, with music, with sound.
Yes.
As soon as he said that, you just go, oh, this is my person. This is my person. And I have followed him down many, many burrows and many, wandering ways ever since then. And I have the extraordinary gift of being able to live in his world and get paid to do it. And isn't that just?
Yeah,
that's astonishing. Many blessings.
Oh, absolutely.
That is wonderful.
I just keep thinking of the difference between people who start out with, in a hole in the ground there lived a hobbit, or in the beginning there was Eru, the one whom the elves called Iluvatar. Like, wait a minute, what? That's a little intimidating.
Horses for courses, though,
Yeah.
It's like starting your world history course with, like, the Bible.
It really is. It's pretty heavy stuff. That's great, though.
Yeah.
Well, Leith, you talked about how you now get to do this professionally, which is super exciting. Tell us a little bit about that. You're a voice and dialect coach. Tell us a little bit about what's a typical day for you on set. What's your role in pre-production? What's your role during production? Just give us a little feel for what a day in the life is for you.
Oh, wow. Wow. This is exciting because it puts me in that place. My work does start in pre-production, and you're working with actors as they start to create the character, how they come to embody the character that is within the script, but also within them and within the world. And so at each step of that process, the dialect coaches on the show are there to support the development and the confidence and expand the creative options that the actors have to work with, and then also introduce them to elements like the language work, or help them shift from their own accent into a different accent. And to feel that all of that is part of a creative process, not a technical process. So the sooner you can work with an actor, the better. And fortunately/unfortunately, because of the COVID break we had in season 1, we had a lot longer for this to sit within the actors, most of them, and ferment, and just mature. And so I left them with a few spells to take home over the break. So, well, first of all, for their own protection, but also just to keep the tongue engaged with what it feels like to speak this sort of language. So I hope that they deployed those spells carefully and powerfully on their journeys while we were apart. But you begin with that feeling of a team effort to build character. And my part of that process is about sound and voice. So we then head into production, and a typical day would be probably trying to grab the actors in the makeup truck or as part of their process at some ungodly hour.
You're saying it's usually dark when you start your job.
It's very dark, very cold and very dark.
Yeah.
It's a great way to start the day, to just get to connect with the actors and help them just remind them of any language work that there might be, or to run lines with people. Sometimes it entirely depends on the actor. Some actors are ready to go, or their prosthetics are so complicated that you can't quite get into the process before they hit set. But then once they're on set, you're there to just support them through the day with regards to the script, to character work, to consistency with their accents, so that you ought to make sure that you're doing the same version of Scottish you were doing when you last shot this scene.
Right.
Oh, I can tell you how hard consistency is, right, Shawn?
Oh,
we try to do these really mediocre accents for our characters just to distinguish between them on the PPP.
I love it.
And it's sometimes very hard to remember with new characters that have just popped up what we did last week. So I hear you on that.
Between episodes, it's like, wait, was this orc?
Was that Shagrat or Gorbag? I don't remember which one was which. Yeah.
Which one was the high-pitched, nasally sounding one, and which one was the really deep-voiced, evil
Which one was from New Jersey and which one was Barry White?
Oh, I love it. You clearly need more sock puppets in this podcast. I'm just saying right now. Let's get some visuals in there.
That would be great. We might have to do that.
And then the last part of the process is post-production.
Okay.
Which I have the habit, which makes me sound really insincere, but I have the habit of saying, I love it to just about every segment of this. So I love pre-production and I love working on set and I love post-production. I love doing ADR with the actors because it's you and the performer in a booth, or you might be outside the booth, that might help. But you are just focusing on their vocal performance. We're just going back because of squeaky costumes and wind machines and planes overhead, or cows mooing where they shouldn't be, or whatever it might be, or crashing waves. I'm just remembering a day that we had. You need to go back and re-record some of that dialogue, or sometimes in editing, the scene might have been rewritten and you might get what's called an ADR offline. So, you know, those moments, and once people are aware of them, you spot them all the time, where the camera is on the person who isn't talking. And you might hear a voice and you go, I don't think that was in the original scene. So little moments like that where a little bit of editing has come in and you might need to introduce some new dialogue. But that, just getting in a clean, quiet booth to get to coach the actor one-on-one so that they feel that they can get back into character, back into that moment of performance. And then you're working with sound engineers, and sound people are my people, whether it's the wonderful sound recordists on set who are genuinely I'll use a Kiwi word here because I love a Māori word, whānau. Whānau is a term for your family who might not be biological family, but who really feel like they are absolutely your people. And so soundies are my whānau, and I absolutely love them. So whether it's in post-production or on set, those are the people I tend to gravitate towards and hang out with because I love them. They're all about the ears.
Yes, our editor is smiling even now.
Right.
Hi, Jordan.
He totally is.
Yeah.
That's great. I love it.
I really do. Now, this isn't your first involvement with a Tolkien adaptation. Tell us a little bit about the work you did on Peter Jackson's The Hobbit films.
With pleasure. I went to New Zealand thinking I would be there for 18 months. Ha ha! And then, as we all might recall, 2 films became 3. One book became many hours of extraordinary adventure. And I was there 4 years.
Oh my, 4 years.
Yeah. And I absolutely loved it. It was wonderful. I fell in love with New Zealand. I fell in love with dwarves in particular. Dwarves have a very special place in my heart because I spent so much time with them. Yeah. And it was an extraordinary, wonderful experience working with Peter and Fran and Philippa and all of their team and all of that crew. Genuinely some of the best people you could work with. And it was an absolute joy, even in its hardest and most challenging moments. It felt like such a pleasure and a privilege to be in that world. And so to be given the opportunity to come back was, did not take a lot of thought.
Where do I sign, right?
Yeah. There was something that Orlando Bloom said to me back on The Hobbit. He said, you never really leave Middle-earth. And he was right.
He's absolutely
certainly
right.
True for a reader. I mean, for a fan, those of us who love Middle-earth so much, it's just we dive in, we never leave it.
We inhabit it. You're absolutely right. That must have been neat. I mean, for all of our, and we'll just be completely transparent, we have at times criticized the Hobbit films, and in comparison to the Lord of the Rings films.
You're not the only ones. I don't know, but you're not the only ones.
You mentioned the crew, and I'll tell you one thing, watching those behind the scenes films, it's very clear that was a group of people who loved what they were doing. They loved each other. It would have been a great place to work. Forgetting about the finished product, setting that aside, what an experience that must have been. Amazing people, amazing time. And of course, as you said, an amazing place. Falling in love with New Zealand, how could you do anything but?
Yeah, absolutely. And that was actually the reason that I wrote to the producers when I was working with actors who were auditioning for The Hobbit. And I had actually looked at watched the behind the scenes of the Lord of the Rings movies many times and thought, wow, wouldn't that be incredible?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be amazing to work in that way with those people on a project this in Middle-earth, which for a voice coach is about as good as it gets.
I was going to say, I don't think there's anything better. Yeah.
I would have to think so, because not only are you dealing with all of the real world dialects and accents and things that you're normally working with, but you're dealing with all the invented languages as well, right? I mean, and the Hobbit movies not only had the Elvish languages, they had all the Quenya and the Sindarin, but they had Dwarvish in there. They had some black speech for the orcs, right? I mean, you must have just been knee deep in all of this, all of Tolkien's invented languages.
Inch thick, knee deep, or head and ears. Absolutely. It was really extraordinary. And I felt a bit odd about that, I have to say, with regards to the Dwarvish, for reasons that should be, obvious to people who are aware of this sort of thing. One of the things that I found a bit tricky on The Hobbit was the proliferation of Dwarvish. There was a lot of Dwarvish material, a lot of Dwarvish language, and as readers will know, Dwarvish was a secret language, and there was a moment where I was saying I can't remember which of the actors it was. I probably said it a few times because I kept reminding myself that the names that we were using for them, Biffa, Buffa, Bomber, you think, they're not your real names though, right?
No,
they're not your secret names.
Right, yeah.
So to be teaching people Dwarvish felt a bit wrong. To be speaking Dwarvish felt a bit wrong. I thought, Professor, am I doing the right thing? But I also wonder whether Tolkien just got to Dwarvish and thought, I'll just go back to Elvish. Let's just say it's a secret language so I don't have to work on it too much.
I've always kind of thought that secretly too. Like, he spent so much time on the Elvish languages. He gets to Dwarvish, he's like, fine, let's just say that one was secret. Black speech. You don't want to hear black speech.
Yeah. Terrible to the ear. Nobody wants to hear black speech. I'll just get back to some more Quenya.
Right, exactly.
It's so lovely. I always steal all the Quenya whenever we get a chance to read it in the text.
He does. He absolutely, and he does such a great job with it. I can't complain, but it's...
I give you any old English that we get. Plus, you get all the Eärendil passages, so...
That's true.
Oh, nice. That seems like a reasonable distribution.
Yeah, we've worked it out.
It's taken 6 years to get here, but yeah.
That's right.
So, of course, now you're working with The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, on Amazon Prime Video. How did you get involved with this production?
Well, I never expected this to happen. I had moved on in my life. I'd started a PhD. I was teaching and really focused on other things. And then out of the blue, you get a call from somebody that I knew from The Hobbit who was working on the show, who said, it's time to come back to Middle-earth. And you think, why would I, Lord of the Rings, why would I do, that's been done. What's
right.
Why would we go back to that? And I really had an instant feeling of, that doesn't sound like something that I want to do. Let's, I've places to be and other stories to tell. And then they said, it's not a remake. They're actually going into the second age, at which point my already pointy ears pricked up. Really?
Okay, then. Yeah.
It was, these are stories that are yet to be told. These are parts of the map we haven't gone to. This is a new adventure. And sure as, a wizard making a mark on your front door, at that point, my feet are already starting to tread towards an unknown destination. And you just go, these are new stories with new people and finding new voices. And and then you think, I'm going back to Middle-earth. I'm actually getting this opportunity that I thought was a once in a lifetime thing. And I get to do it again. And so then it was a no-brainer, the idea of this being unexplored places. And I really have this kind of tandem journey with this work where I am part of the creation of it, but I'm also experiencing it as a fan in real time.
Yeah.
So I get to step onto a set and I experience it as though I am visiting Middle-earth. I hope people are listening and that they don't think, oh, that's slightly mad. But I guess all of us would understand this feeling of just feeling like you are a little bit there or as close as one can be to actually getting there. And so it's a joy to experience in both ways, both as a technical part of the team, but also as somebody who can have that sense of a little bit of distance and go, wow, I'm in this place with these people. And look, there's Celebrimbor, and look, there's Elrond. And, you just think there are those pinch yourself moments that I have all the time because this is such a joy for me. Such a joy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I'm sure everyone listening to this right now is going to feel the same way. Just imagine just stepping onto a set and suddenly I'm in Númenor. I'm, or wherever you are.
At its height, or I'm in,
Yeah, it's just got to be absolutely amazing. And I can imagine for a fan, just completely mind-blowing. Also, I love the way you pronounce Celebrimbor.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, I would expect nothing less, of course.
That's right.
And far be it from me to tell you that you did a good job or otherwise, but I like the way it sounds.
No, we're all in this together. I love that. It's so nice. One of the things that I will take away from meeting you in London and that wonderful afternoon that we had was just a little bit of validation that okay, it is worth going in and saying, you didn't tap your R in that take. Could you please tap your R? Things where you just think, does anybody care? I know it's a niche thing, but I am there to care. I'm there to be the ambassador for that kind of specificity.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
That's the kind of thing people will notice.
Absolutely. Those are the things that are going to help people stay immersed. Those are, there are some people who won't notice, but then there are lots of people who will notice, and they're the ones who are going to say, oh, they did that right.
I caught that.
Yeah. I'm doing it for my people. My people.
Yes.
Well, speaking of our people, I think we all know, and I think anybody listening who's read the books knows, language was of critical importance to Tolkien. He actually wrote in one of his letters, and this was letter number 165, that the invention of languages is the foundation of Middle-earth. It really started with the languages. He said, the stories were made rather to provide a world for the languages than the reverse. How will the Rings of Power show pay homage to this? How is language important in the show?
I think it begins actually, interestingly enough, within the English that's also in the show. So within the writing of the show. JD and Patrick, who are the showrunners and are also part of the writing team, obviously, have such a love for language that when you've been steeping yourself in these invented languages and in these books and in Tolkien's passion for language as well, it influences the way that you write. And so that comes through in the styles of writing for the different cultures within the world. And JD and I nerd out about this at every available opportunity of just, like a metric touch that, is giving you a sense of the acoustic landscape and world of these characters. And I think, so it actually starts with the English. It then has a quality when you have a character who shifts into Quenya, for example, that has a meaning and a power on the show. It's a tricky decision to make. When do you use that language? How much do you use that language? And if you're using it here, then why aren't they speaking in that language the entire time?
All the time, right.
Let's face it, is what I want. I want that.
I mean, that's what they'd be doing, right?
I'd be fine with
do the whole thing in subtitles. Yeah.
Maybe for the advanced user, you could take away the subtitles.
Wouldn't that be incredible? I daydream about this. I daydream and think we could do this entire scene in Elvish. But it becomes the convention that they are speaking in Elvish, or they're speaking in whatever language would be the currency within that culture.
Yeah.
And so what the writers then include are these moments where you shift, these moments which feel... Shakespeare is something that I have a great passion for as well. And so in Shakespearean terms, there's a shift from prose into verse. Do you know that moment where something that you're feeling or wanting to communicate becomes too big to contain in common speech and you shift into verse form? And I think there are moments like that within the show where a character wants to communicate with a different kind of power or intention. And so there's a shift into language in that moment. And so that's kind of the convention that we're mostly working with, I think. I think I'm representing that accurately. And so in those moments, we talk a lot with the actors about the power of Elvish. And this is a world where what you sing or say changes the people, the creatures, and the landscape around you. You can bring things into being with your language, with your words, so that it doesn't have that casual throwaway quality that our modern interaction with language can have. This is a powerful thing. It's a little bit like, I don't know if it's weird. I know we're only in small created little boxes, but I still hesitate to say the word Macbeth. That's what I'm umming and ahhing about. Okay, I'll say it. Okay, I said it. Whew, okay, I said it.
We're through it. We've done it.
Whew, okay, I'm just gonna. I'll do a cleansing spell later on. But it's. There are the moments in Macbeth where you actually Lady Macbeth calls the spirits calls them to her and is changed because of what she says. Yeah. And I talk about this with the actors who are all, fortunately, up for this kind of nerdiness and up for this kind of interaction with language. And Rob Arameo, who plays Elrond, for example, is totally down for this.
I was about to ask who's the biggest, word nerd on the set.
There definitely isn't a teacher's pet. These actors are really, to a person, I have to say this, and it's going to sound insincere, but if you knew them, you would know that I'm being truthful. They are absolutely invested in craft. They're absolutely invested in storytelling. And so this process that we have the pleasure of going through with them, of introducing them to the world, to the languages, the accent, the character, that is for them an incredibly rewarding and self-rewarding process. When they speak Elvish well, they feel empowered and proud and engaged and delighted. So that gives me a lot of positive feedback, a lot of energy to drive my passion and my nerdiness as well.
It's so exciting for me because, I am the resident word nerd on the Prancing Pony podcast and on the Rings of Power wrap-up, and there are many of us out there listening, and I know that everybody listening who calls themselves a word nerd is as excited as I am.
And that's a big chunk of our crowd, too. So.
It is a big
solidarity,
big
my people. Solidarity and greetings.
As you said, Leith, this is really your people. Absolutely.
Oh, yay.
Great stuff. Wow.
And you hinted at this a moment ago, and I think you said this in London, too, that you strove to establish an auditory difference between realms. You really, I think what I took away from that is you wanted each culture, each place that we see on screen to have its own auditory soundscape in the way people talk. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you achieved that?
Yeah, so that actually clarified itself for me talking in London with, and it takes my breath away to say who I was on a panel with. I can't even, I try not to focus on it too much because you just want to squeal and scream at the top of your lungs and run around a lot. But John Howe, people.
I know.
Yeah.
John Howe. I just couldn't even believe it. And Ramsey Avery, who is the production designer for season 1. And these extraordinary artists, just honestly mind-blowing artists that you can have the most incredible conversations with, and also who truly bring this world to us. They bring my limited visual imagination into a landscape I could never have created myself. I'm just not that visual. I'm much more auditory.
But that's okay because you do the auditory, right?
John
makes these tremendous drawings that you can't even conceive of, but you fill them with sound and speech. And it's something that he wouldn't be able to do. That's what I love about seeing this teamwork together and seeing JD and Patrick and hearing from you and John. It was just, Shawn and I have talked about this a number of times. That set of conversations was what really helped us to become significantly more optimistic about this show and to overcome a lot of the doubts is the wrong word, but hesitations maybe, or underlying concerns. But we're really excited to see what's going on with this and what you've done in it in particular. We'll be listening.
Thank you. That's very kind. It really is an extraordinary gift. It's a gift to the show that the show can bring these people and they bring all of their talent and passion with them. Yeah. And this is genuinely a landscape in which you can work with this kind of mutual respect, and just have a sense of the teamwork that it takes because of Tolkien's focus on language as well. I don't feel like the odd one out. I really feel like I have a place within that extraordinary team. And that's astonishing to me, given the talent of these artists. And so Ramsay was talking about the creative briefs that happened with each of the cultures and how you have this need, especially when you're working with television and you're going back between one scene and another and needing to pull somebody from this episode and bring them back to that world instantly in the next episode or whatever it might be, that you want a visual palette that immediately puts you into place. And so when Ramsay was talking about that in London, I thought, actually, that's what happens with the auditory as well. You want the ability to immediately know where you are because of the acoustic landscape as well. And so the decision was made in pre-production very early on for each of the different cultures to have a vocal landmark, a sort of a very clear indicator that now we are with the Harfoots, or now we are with the Southlanders, or now we are in Khazad-dûm, or wherever we might be. And so from there, we built accents that identify a realm or a culture as having a consistency within it. And within that process was a probably contentious, probably to be dissected by many people as we go along. There were choices made to make each of those accents pretty identifiable to people who have a familiarity with accents of the British Isles, as it were, but also accents that sound as though they are not from a very specific location. So I took qualities, say, of a Northern English accent and then went for consistency within a culture, but not specificity as it relates to our world. You don't want to overlay the map of the British Isles onto the map of Middle Earth because that...
Right, you don't want them to say, oh, they're from Birmingham.
Or you don't want people to say, all the dwarves sound Scottish or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. You want a feeling that there's consistency, but it's also it is a created accent. So we talk about the Harfoot accent or the Dwarven accent or the Southlanders accent or whatever it might be. And because it is a created accent. And so it's about consistency across that with each of the actors who comes in to work within that culture. But it doesn't have that sense of constantly needing to go for the authenticity of our world because that can pull you out of the story in a way.
That is so exciting to me.
Oh, I can't wait to hear some of these examples.
I can't wait to start learning about the different accents.
So it's not just the fact that they'll be speaking different languages. It's not, we'll hear Sindarin here, we'll hear Quenya here, and we'll hear Khuzd-dûl over here. It's that even when they're speaking English, we're going to be hearing that in different accents, but like you said, constructed accents so that we're not placing them geographically in the primary world.
Exactly.
I love that. That's going to be exciting stuff.
Oh, I hope so.
Speaking of all of those languages, what kind of a role will Tolkien's invented languages play on screen? Maybe explore that a little bit further. Will we get a lot of Sindarin and Khuzd-dûl? I know you talked about having it at very specific moments when you transition into those sort of prose versus poetry thing. I love that analogy, by the way. Anything else that you can tell us a little bit about those constructed languages?
Sure. Well, one of the biggest shifts for me, and I don't think this is a spoiler because you'll figure it out pretty quickly, is that my experience with Elvish was predominantly Sindarin until now. So at some point, I don't know how this decision was made. I wasn't part of this decision. It was already there when I joined the project. The main language of communication for our elves is actually Quenya.
Yeah. Okay.
So that was a big shift for me. I thought, okay, I knew about 10 spells, but I don't have a lot of vocab. And I should mention right now, before the emails start, that I don't do the translations. We have a team who were appointed by the estate, and I'm very pleased to say that they are the people who do the translations for us. So, which is fantastic because as we all know,
that's wonderful. Yeah.
It's so contentious. The language can be so contentious that the fact that all of that process was already there when I arrived, I thought, thank you.
Yeah. I don't want that heat. I don't want that
Right.
heat. Yeah.
I don't want that responsibility. I do not. Very occasionally, you might need to add a word here or there. Just, if a horse needs to, run faster, for example, we all know what to say. And so that's easy. That's exactly. So that kind of contribution is easy, but to actually eloquently and accurately conjugate a full couple of sentences in Quenya is something that you just would you are very grateful to hand over to the masters. So I get to do that, which is great.
Yeah. I'll help you with pronouncing it, but I'm not going to write it for you. Yeah.
Pronunciation, no problem at all. But conjugation, I still hesitate. Every time I look at a word and I think, well, yeah, I know it has that meaning there, but it didn't back in this place. And all of us know that there will be massive dissection about which,
absolutely.
Our people will go deep.
Yes, they do.
On the use of this language. So you just think, okay, I'm going to leave it to people who have that overview. I have a lot of other things to focus on. And so that was for me a big catch up. I went back to school to get my Quenya, feeling like I just want to be able to work outside the illuminated part of the room. I just need that sense that I feel more confident than I certainly did in The Hobbit. There was not a lot of Quenya in The Hobbit. And so I wanted the ability to feel more at home with it and practice it. So that was the big shift for me, was the predominance of Quenya as opposed to Sindrin. And then there was some lovely new coastal vocab that I learned. All of these opportunities. Every time we get translations through, it's a school day for me.
Cool. You're like, there's a word I didn't know before. Yeah, file that one away.
It's such a great, moment to go, oh, I've never seen that word before. Where did it come from? Where was this pull? And as we know, there are so many different sources. And of course, because this is coming from translators who have been approved by the estate, that they have access to stuff we've never seen, still all of that material that you assume will be out there. I just keep imagining it will just roll on and on and on forever. There must be limitations to it, but coming out of the shadows is a word that I think I've never seen that anywhere before. And it's wonderful that we get to bring it to life here.
Oh, that's
that's so great.
Yeah, it's so great. It's so great. So Quenya for the win, friends. We're in Quenya town.
Love me some Quenya.
Big fans of Quenya here. Quenya is just beautiful. I mean,
you talked about just the sound of language, and that's the thing about Quenya. It is stunningly beautiful to the ear. Everything that's said is lovely, and you just want to keep reading it aloud.
Absolutely.
And that's, I think, something we discovered, is reading it aloud makes such a difference.
Absolutely. Yeah. It just has so much more power when you hear it spoken aloud.
Yeah, it really does.
It's so true. It's so true. The pleasure of that interaction with language is something that, word nerds like us share. We really share that feeling that you can bring something off the page. And anyone who has read any of these books aloud to somebody else has a different relationship to them, right? It's really...
Definitely.
And I think it's what Tolkien would have wanted. Absolutely.
Oh, agreed. 100%.
I'm certain. Yeah.
How many times have we noticed that, Shawn? We'll prepare for an episode, and we won't necessarily catch something, and then we're reading the passage aloud, and we'll just stop and be like, wait a minute. I didn't even catch this when I was researching this episode.
You'll find a ton of alliteration in a passage, or just a rhythm to it where it's almost as though he's writing in verse, even though he's writing in prose. And there are just these moments where, Leith, you're talking about how, in Shakespeare, the shift from prose to poetry, sometimes that happens in Tolkien's text, and it's not even italicized and indented as poetry. Sometimes it just happens in the prose, and those moments are just magic.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And it's something that I love that our showrunners, that JD and Patrick, care about language in that same way, and feel that they can deploy that tool set with care, even when they're trying to achieve so many other things, as a showrunner does, as you're trying to make a story move in the way that it has to.
Yeah.
To also have those moments of, the flower that is growing from that little tuft of grass in the clearing. It's that level of detail as well that you just think,
it is.
Oh yeah, I'm so here for this.
So cool.
Oh, wow.
So cool.
Just wow.
Well, on that note, I think for many readers or viewers, their introduction to Tolkien's languages won't even be necessarily the words spoken by the actors, but the characters' names themselves. Of course, Tolkien's characters are all given names that mean something, usually in Elvish, right? Can you speak to how the writers are thinking about Tolkien's language and the meanings of names when they're inventing names for some of the new characters that have been created for the show?
No, I can't speak to that, but I'm so excited that you brought this up. Because as we know, I learned this only a couple of years ago, and it was one of those things that I wish someone had said to me much, much earlier, that you should never mock somebody for how they pronounce a word. It means that they learned it from reading. And you think, wow, of course, that's fantastic. That's actually should be a badge of honor that someone has learned this word from the reading experience and doesn't necessarily know how to pronounce it. We've all been in that situation.
Oh, yes, we have.
Certainly.
That's quite true.
Right? All of us. And so especially if people, dare I say, haven't read Appendix E.
Oh.
But
Wow.
You won't find any of those listening to this show, but
Well, it is interesting when, will I name names? Maybe I will. But when you listen to high-profile Tolkien nerds, Stephen Colbert, and you think, wait a minute, but your pronunciation is not right. Like, how can you be so concerned about this world and not have read Appendix E, Stephen? What are you doing with your time? But anyway, it's fine.
You need to get on his show and you need to tell him that.
You do.
Yeah, I do. I just need to bring it up gently, supportively.
Of course.
I will bring it up.
Of course,
just go,
yeah.
I just got a couple of notes, Stephen.
Love the passion, just a few notes. That's all.
Yeah, love it. Just love it. Just going to steer it a little bit. It is interesting because this can happen with character names as well. And so you hear across the set, right, across the crew, this amazing variation in the way that people will pronounce names.
Yeah.
And it's not just, I have to say, and I really feel like I want to put out some kind of little helpful guide for people. It's not just the characters, it's also the actors' names.
Oh, that's fair.
That can be very tricky. We have some actors with some wonderful names in this show. Ismael, for example, Owain, Morved, who, and you hear their names, and I have an odd name myself. Leith is a name that most people haven't heard before and might not necessarily know how to pronounce. So I feel a real solidarity with these people. I must call them elves, but they're not all elves. And so you want to help out. You know, you really want you want to have the sense that you're validating somebody by speaking their name correctly. And so I try to help out with the pronunciation of the actors' names, first of all. Morved, I think, is one that might be a bit surprising for people because it's not spelled that way. Thanks, Welsh.
Right. I know.
Morved. It's a beautiful tapped R and then a V sound, Morved, and then a voiced TH at the end, what Tolkien would make a DH, yeah? Morved. And because she's Welsh and because she loves Elvish, feel free to tap that R, my friends. Just get into it. It's fantastic. Morved. Wonderful.
I imagine her pronunciations of Elvish are going to be some of the best things we've ever heard in our lives.
The connection between Welsh and Elvish is going to be something that is playing to her strengths. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
It's a gift. However, Ismael, for example, who plays Arondir, it was so interesting when he came in because we went through the vowel sounds and the consonant sound and the basic sort of pronunciation structure. And then it was duck to water for him pronouncing Elvish. He was beautiful. Wow. And J.A., who was the director of the first two episodes, J.A. Bayona, also has Spanish as his first language. And his pronunciations on set were just divine because all the vowels are right. You don't have Galadriel. You know, you have Galadriel. You know, you have, it's just, every time either of those excellent people will pronounce a word, you think Spanish is really helpful. If you know the Spanish sounds, you are really in the right wheelhouse for some of these vowels. Yeah. So it was fantastic.
Well, yeah. So Alan, correct me if I'm wrong on this, because I can't remember exactly where I've read it, but I think Tolkien actually did say that he rather liked Spanish, didn't he? That was one of the Romance languages he liked. He did. Not like French.
Well, no. In fact, letter 213 makes that abundantly clear, right? He's writing a letter to Deborah Webster. I love the way he starts out the letter. I do not like giving facts about myself other than dry ones. But he does go on to say, for instance, I dislike French and prefer Spanish to Italian. So we at least know
there you go.
Spanish is better than Italian, which is definitely better than French.
Right. There you go. Romance language is ranked.
Coming from Professor Tolkien, that's such harsh criticism, right?
Isn't it? Yeah.
I know.
He does not mince words. Read the letters for some kicks and giggles sometimes.
I don't think Tolkien ever forgave French for the Norman conquest.
No.
Honestly.
Boo, 1066. Boo.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's holding a grudge. Wow.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, he always used the Old English and Anglo-Saxon words instead of the French words if he could, you know.
Yep.
Yeah. I do like the robustness of that, though. You know, there's that sort of fulsome edginess that comes from the Old English.
Mm-hmm.
The right goodliness of speechcraft.
Yes.
Yeah,
As
exactly.
Tolkien called it.
Right,
Yeah, I
the
love
goodliness
that.
of speechcraft.
I love
yeah.
that quote. All right. Well, you are obviously a word nerd like us. We bestow upon you the title of honorary word nerd, and it doesn't even have to be honorary because clearly you've earned it.
This is like elf friend for us. You're like a word nerd to us. You're
A professional
thank
word
you.
nerd, which is the highest compliment possible.
Yeah.
We have found that many, many Tolkien fans, especially a lot of those that listen to our show, are very interested in language. What can language lovers look forward to in the first season of the Rings of Power? Whatever you can tell us, of course.
Oh, gosh. Oh, how exciting. Oh, gosh. What can't you look forward to? Oh, gosh.
That's fair. No, that's a valid answer.
That's fine answer.
Everything
Yeah.
is a good answer.
I think you can look forward to knowing that everyone on the team cares about this as much as we do. I think
Yeah.
I think that is something which it may not come through in every aspect. There's so much extraordinary visual work that happens, but just know that the team that are behind this care about Tolkien's work as much as we do.
Yeah.
And that was my hesitation in taking the gig in the first place. That was entirely relaxed by the work that I get to do with these extraordinary writers and showrunners and actors, that this is an environment that I think really supports the pleasure of language and the pleasure of these invented languages as well, and the care that we take with that, and the care that I promise to all of you that I try to take every day that I work on this amazing project, is to honor his writing and his intention and his passions, and to make sure that this is an integral part of the world, however small it might be when you're on a crew where hundreds of people are focused on the visual. You mentioned, Shawn, before that wonderful letter of where Tolkien talks about the fact that the languages came first and the world came after.
Yeah.
And that is an absolute touchstone for me. I think about it almost every day, you know, of just thinking, I want to take care with his work because this world is so extraordinary. And so to be back in that world is a pleasure. That's what you can look forward to. You can look forward to being back in this world.
Oh, we are excited.
Could not ask for a better answer. Thank you, Leith.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Well, folks, that does wrap it up for the 7th episode of the Rings of Power wrap-up. A huge thank you to Leith McPherson. You are welcome to come back anytime. And we mean that absolutely.
Absolutely.
Carte blanche.
Oh, thank you so much. I think I need to make the Prancing Pony my local. I think that's what needs to happen.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes, please.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
It has been our pleasure. I couldn't have asked for a better interview. I've been smiling the whole time we've been talking.
It has been our pleasure, truly.
Folks, please be sure to join us again next episode. We can't exactly tell you when that will be, but our best guess is that sometime during or shortly after Comic-Con. I mean, really, I think we all know something's got to be coming. But the next time big news about the show comes out, you can rest assured we'll be talking about it here and getting an episode out.
And in the meantime, we're also working on a series of foundational episodes to get you up to speed on the lore of the Second Age of Middle-earth. So whatever happens, you're going to want to make sure that you've subscribed to this podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, before we go, we want to take a moment to thank the team that helps make this show better. That's our producer, Jordan Rennells, our barleman, Becca Davis, our social media manager, Casey Hilsey, and our website guru, Phil Dean.
Now, speaking of the website, please make sure to give us a visit there at ringswrapup.com. You'll find show notes, eventually you'll find outtakes, you'll find our online storefront, and much more.
And definitely check out our library page. While this show is about the Amazon adaptation, Alan and I are fans of the books first and foremost, and we've provided links for you to get nearly every book we mention on the show. And we do get a few pennies from the purchases you make there, so thank you.
And one last thing as always, don't forget to send your thoughts, comments, and questions to barleman@theprancingponypodcast.com.
Yeah, Barleman's been a lot more reliable lately, but we do still get a lot of mail, folks. So please be patient. We'll get to you as soon as we can, and your question or comment may be featured on a future episode.
As always, though, this has been far too short a time to spend among such excellent and admirable listeners, and guests in this case. But until next time,
farewell, friends.